Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast. And I am joined today, as I often am, by Giles Edwards.
Hello, everybody. Okay.
There is no guest today, but before we get started, I wanted to announce that we are going to have a number of guests. We got 4 guests lined up for the next 4 episodes. So people, if you want to tune in for any of those in particular, let me run them down. Next week's episode will be Gary Huggins, the director of Kick Me, which is a film we just mentioned last week, a cursed film, and he'll hopefully describe the curse. The week after, 4/13 is the recording date. We have Jason Trost of the FP series. The following week, we have GB Hajim, and I think I pronounced his name right, the director of Strange Frame, Love and Sax, which is a certified weird movie, which we've screened before, who has a new movie coming out. I believe it's called The Mermaid's Lament, in festivals now. And the following week, last week of April, we will have on as a co-host Terry McSorley, Gore Girl of the blog Gore Girl, and our special guest will be another blogger or a writer, Eric Kirsten of Academic, which is a journal of psychedelic film written in a very academic style. And I'm a huge fan of his writing, so I'm thrilled to have him on. And so there's a lot going on. People are lining up to get on the show, and let's get the director of Hundreds of Beavers on too next.
I bought him lunch once, so he
he remembers
me back the favor.
He remembers you. I've been in contact with him by a third party.
Okay.
And he remembers you. So I think that they will come on if we can get the scheduling worked out on that. But so this week we're just going to discuss nothing but new releases. So let's get started.
All right.
And if you're watching on YouTube or on 366 Weird Movies, you can see this still. If not, Giles, can you describe what we're seeing?
Well, this is an array of, let's see, I'll presume to call them superheroes. They have the tight body clothing of a rather fetching shade of muted blue with a sort of underpants on the outside kind of look, and mask helmets. There's a small robot, has very much of a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers kind of vibe to it, and they're standing in front of what looks like a camper jeep.
Yes, and you forgot there's a little robot too.
Yeah, there's a little guy there, and so this is an odd image.
Yeah, and you know what that is? It's Smoking Causes Coughing,
yes,
which we've discussed many times in relation to its festival run, which was short but memorable. Everybody seemed to like it. It's from Quentin Dupieux. I think it currently has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not super unusual for a film that's only been seen in film festivals where receptive audiences.
There's a certain thing about critics at film festivals. They can be, shall we say, more exuberant than perhaps they...
Well, yeah, and mostly they're going to see movies they want to see.
And then there are a lot of factors pointing like, oh, this was a good movie because I knew it was going to be. So yeah, I saw the trailer for this. It looks like at long last, for those waiting for Dupieux to take on the superhero genre, this is an answer to their prayers. And at least two of the excited blurbs in the trailer were from John Waters talking about how crazy it was. So he's a pretty good judge of that. So I have high hopes for this.
Yeah, if John Waters is a fan, I think people are going to really like it. I don't recall John Waters ever weighing in on a Quentin Dupieux film before, so maybe this one's extra special. I do feel, and maybe it's just a sense I'm getting that's not accurate, but I feel like this is the buzziest Quentin Dupieux movie since Rubber. People seem most excited for it.
Finally break through to the mainstream Western American audience with this, I am sure.
Anything from the trailer that is posted now on 366weirdmovies.com, where you could be watching this, is, I think, a new one. It had some scenes I hadn't seen in the earlier teaser trailer, so people will want to check that out. It's in theaters. It's also simultaneously going to VOD, which is good, so that people can see it. Anything from the new trailer stand out to you, Giles?
And obviously Dupieux doesn't, he is very serious about making movies, but none of the movies of his I've seen would be well described as being very serious themselves. And with that in mind, this looks like he might have tilted further into a silly and strange direction than his previous work has, like very overtly silly. There's a lot of, jokey camaraderie. There's a horrible looking rat puppet character that reminded me of the enforcer guy from Meet the Feebles, and there's a little romance interest hinted at within that trailer there. So I imagine there's going to be a whole lot of gross and hilarious going on.
Yeah, it was their boss being a rat was what got me. It's a little bit of a well, at any rate, I think people are definitely going to want to check this out. It looks different than anything he's done before. Although Mandibles, which he did last, had a lot more of a conventional structure than his previous films. And this seems like it might be more in the vein of Mandibles, where it has that same quirky sense of humor, but more of a normal-ish sort of narrative structure to it. But we shall see as soon as tomorrow when it goes on VOD. And everybody's excited for that. But let's move to the next one. Enys Men. This is a horror from, it's being distributed by Neon, which is usually a good sign. They've sort of taken over, I think, the weirder horror releases from A24 as A24 gets a little bit more, they seem to be, A24 seems to be branching off in different directions and, winning an Oscar and everything.
That's gonna
stepping into that niche of these arty, weird horrors. What about this one, Giles?
Looked intriguing. I think I saw the word atmospheric at least once. Had a dark, brooding kind of feel to it. The one modest red flag I saw in the trailer was one of the reactions was hypnotic, and that can often be coded language for not much happens. But
yeah,
that hasn't stopped me in the past, and probably won't stop me with this if the opportunity presents itself to check this out.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things I noticed. It looks very, very 70s styled.
Yeah.
It's Academy ratio. They have sort of fake artifacts on the film, which are well done. Not something I always enjoy, going that far into the retro thing, but especially with the landscape, and there appeared to be some hints of pagan rituals. I was getting a lot of Wicker Man vibes.
Oh yeah. This image we have up here with a middle-aged woman unconscious on some rocks being looked over by seven kind of, oh, we'll say frontier style. This is in England, but we'll say frontier style women looking over her with a massive coastal rock in the backdrop. So this is definitely has a Wicker Man-ish kind of.
Yeah. Did we
overtone.
mention it's called Enys Men? I think I did.
Yeah, I think so. The Enys Men. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's how I'd go with it. And those I'd say those figures look like pilgrims.
That's yeah. So that was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, pilgrims, like you would think came over on the Mayflower.
So that was just
But
a Puritan kind of thing.
yeah,
So yeah,
Puritans.
yeah.
I believe, although they're all dressed in skirts and bonnets, I believe they're all men too.
Oh, good for them.
I can't, zoom in quite close enough to see, but the one closest in the foreground
Yeah,
looks.
actually, yeah, a little closer. Yeah, I got a big screen over here, so yeah, I think yeah, I'd say you're probably right there. Neat.
So some cross-dressing. Uh,
Fine,
um,
go for it.
if you're just listening to this and can't see it, let me read the quotes that are here on the poster. An unnerving horror unlike any other, says Awards Watch. A wicked, witchy folk freak horror, says the playlist. A revelatory experience, says Sight and Sound. A sublime supernatural mind fuck, says something called 1D.
ID maybe.
ID, maybe? I don't know
Yeah.
what that is. Supremely disquieting, says The Guardian, and haunting, says Hollywood Reporter. Lots of good reviews. Looking forward to this one as well. It's not going to be playing, it's going to be in theaters, not playing near me. The Louisville theater scene, cinema scene, has kind of gone a little flat. They used to have a deal. One theater here used to have a deal where they would, anything that came out from A24 or Neon would be, they'd have it up. And lately they have not been. I guess they weren't making enough money. So it might be hard for me to get to see this, but might have to wait for video on demand. We shall see, though. All right. I bet you don't recognize this still, Giles.
I don't, but because of your email, I know where this is from.
Yeah.
This couple of white-clad winged angels manning a train kiosk.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not a train kiosk. Sorry, looking at the
I think it's meant to be like Grand Central Station.
the schedule board in the background mentions things like holding center, therapy, borderland, intensive care, elsewhere. Okay, so yeah, this must be the third in the Exorcist franchise.
It is, which is getting a 4K Blu-ray. Now, last week I mentioned that it seems to be only horrible movies, and I'm not saying they're horrible, but much cheaper, forgotten movies that are getting 4K upgrades. This one gets a 4K upgrade. The original Exorcist, still no 4K upgrade.
Yeah,
Exorcist
I guess it's
3, yes.
that's weird. A combination of a rights issue, and I wonder if there was a recent small advent in upgrading technology, because there does seem to be a surge of 4K this past half year or more. So maybe it's gotten easier or cheaper or both. So
My theory is, I think Universal or Paramount, a big studio, owns the rights to the original. And I think that the 4K UHD thing is only for specialists. It's not wide stream. They make all their money off streaming now. So they're just not interested in doing upgrades of classic films. Or I think they'll get around to them slowly, but it's just not a priority for the big studios because that's not where the money is. While these small boutique labels get what they can and do it. Exorcist 3 is a movie I haven't seen. I saw 1 and 2. 2 is unbelievable. I think in some sense I like 2 better than 1. It's just so crazy. It's John Boorman going insane. It's bad, but bad in a really fun way. For 3, the story behind 3, as I understand it, is William Peter Blatty, the writer of the original, got a deal to direct his own novel, Legion, which was not really an exorcist novel, although it has some similar demonic themes. But the studio insisted that they slap the Exorcist label on it, and also insisted that they put an exorcism scene in it, which was not in the original novel. So they wrote and tacked on a exorcism scene that has nothing to do with the story.
Excellent. Well, maybe that'll get one of those phantom edits like that Star Wars Episode 1 did, where fans made a good version of the movie to as a rejoinder to the original version.
Yeah, or the chronological version of Irreversible.
Oh, right.
But at any rate, a lot of it seems to be set in a mental hospital, which is where this still is from. And I've seen other stills of characters with angel wings, which seem to be some sort of schizophrenic hallucination. Looking at the stills on IMDb, even though I haven't seen this one, I look the imagery is very weird, so it might be worth checking out.
Yeah, I read the review from Eric Young, actually just within this past hour, and he makes a very good case as to why it doesn't work, while pointing out the parts that do work. So I would recommend that you check out that review, and that should give you a good indication if you want to give this a try, either in streaming or in glorious 4K.
Yep. That's it. Exorcist 3, surprising UHD, which I still don't have a UHD player, but okay, so this image is going to be hard to describe. There's a lot of images like this. Do you want to give it a shot, Giles?
Sure. It's kaleidoscopic would be one way, one word to describe it. There's obviously a young man's face, blue-eyed fella, and superimposed or going through or behind somehow, or perhaps all three, is this array of lined parallel tubular light formations of different colors, from soft purple to a deep ochre, some light blues in there, a couple of whites, and combining together, creating an ambiguous screen capture. I imagine this is lifted straight from some scene or another, and from my experience with movies that do this kind of imagery, they tend to do it a lot in the movie in question. So I'm gonna guess that this will fall in nicely with, shall we say, the psychedelic crowd, to use a shorthand there.
Okay, it's Son of the Stars, which is a 1980s, I forget the exact date, Romanian science fiction film from the people who brought us Delta Space Mission, which I reviewed last year. And I also have an interview with director whose name is, I probably mispronounce it, but Kalin Kazin.
It's probably pretty close. Okay. It's yes, in the year 6470, a husband and wife team receive a mysterious distress signal. They leave their son on board ship to search for the missing astronaut, but fate intervenes. Their ship crashes, their ship crashes, leaving their son alone. Or is he? So it is, 1985.
Yeah. And as I understand, I think if you look at the trailer, you'll see a lot of monsters and aliens that sort of remind you of Fantastic Planet a little. It's often described, this cartoon is often described as sort of a mix between Hanna-Barbera and Empire Strikes Back or something like that.
Yeah, looking at a still here, it looks. I think that's a just about a Y-wing if I ever saw one. But yeah, this looks pretty cool. One of the little things in the, I guess, in the re-release trailer was were the words "wild '80s animation," and I was reminded that I think Pixar is to blame for this. Starting when they did also, well, we'll use Toy Story as the groundbreaking point for them, since I believe that was their first mega smash hit, and that has really dictated what a lot of mainstream animation looks like, and it's kind of phased out this not realistic, but well, I guess hand drawn, slightly, not as computer curvy kind of thing. Ralph Bakshi being another animator I quite liked from this era in the US. That there's sort of no middle ground for animation anymore. It's either big studio, big movie, or it's seems to be underground stuff like the Wolf House is a more esoteric example than others being stop motion. But that kind of just the stuff that we'll find here, the Unicorn Wars and other things. But there's like as with so much of cinema in general, there's no like middle ground animation, it seems, anymore, that is not of the computer style. So
Yeah, 2D hand drawn animation
yeah.
has a lot more character and individuality to it. I mean, they can do a lot of effects and things with the 3D, but it just doesn't have the same charm that you see. Yeah. Even though these, this is a little bit crude looking, perhaps, in its sort of characterizations, which are very cartoony. You can see that they're just going wild with what they can.
Yeah.
They are drawing all sorts of figures on the screen. This one also, Delta Space Mission, was a lot of fun and worth seeing, and appropriate for kids. This one has just been described as more surreal than that one, which is good for me. Also described as sort of having a Tarzan influence, where I suppose the boy that gets left behind on the spaceship grows up and becomes king of the alien planet or some such. That's just a guess as to the plot, but so that is going to appeal to anybody who likes to eat cereal and watch Saturday morning cartoons while taking acid.
Oh, well, everything's better that way.
Everything's better with acid. Okay. So that is called Son of the Stars. Available from Deaf Crocodile on Blu-ray, I think only. I don't know if it's VOD. I did not check. But for the current moment, at least on Blu-ray. Okay, this one's a little bit of this one is kind of a strange movie that popped up on my radar screen. You want to give a shot at describing the stills, Giles?
Yeah, sure. It's a distressed fella, I'd say in his 50s, but the still is treated as such that there's a chromatic staggering effect. As one looks at this image from right to left, there's the green tone, or actually, excuse me, the bluish tone, then the green, then the red. So it's there's a slight smearing, albeit one in very high detail. There's a term for this that eludes me at the moment, but definitely very bright, vibrant recreation of a sort of drab-looking individual in a state of unease.
And it's sort of this is sort of looks like a 3D one
That's
of
it.
the old 3D anamorphic images if you were looking at it without 3D glasses,
Yeah.
except that it's all colored red and orange and green and blue, all the colors of the psychedelic rainbow. This is called Blood on Méliès Moon.
Yeah.
And it is a very strange sort of project.
Yeah, it was an odd trailer that seemed to jump around to a lot of different themes and styles. With obviously the magic of Méliès, there was also a sort of fifth dimensional conspiracy angle. There was an intersection of 80s trash horror meeting 90s computer graphics meeting something else that I really couldn't put my finger on. Um, and the fact that, unlike most trailers, this went on for 3 minutes. So it seemed to try to give a very broad sweep of the mystery surrounding a an inventor of a film recording and projection capacity who disappeared on a train, and then how that ties in with an evil space Méliès. Maybe it was kind of hard to follow the trailer.
Yeah,
But
I agree. Well, so this came out in the 2016. Let me see. No, yes, 2016. It's just coming to America now, and it was made by and stars Luigi Cozzi, 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 should be
Cozzi? I don't know.
Cozzi, maybe.
Cozzi.
Who was a exploitation director in the 80s, Italian exploitation director in the 80s, who's probably best known for doing Star Crash, the Star Wars ripoff that was
Oh wow.
recently lampooned by MST3K in their new incarnation. Also, he did a series of Hercules movies with Lou Ferrigno that are,
Oh.
B movies made pretty much for kids, but just totally wild. In one of them, Hercules punches a bear, and the bear flies up into space and turns into the constellation Ursa Major.
Okay.
So
Good,
he
good.
made these crappy exploitation mainly aimed at kids. He always had a very sort of surreal take on them. And so now as an old man, he's making this very low budget movie. There's a lot of cheap looking CGI in it.
This is who is that filmmaker? Had the it was a Fantasia thing. It was like a 3 hour movie. Very famous, skilled Japanese filmmaker that in the past few years did his own opus, sort of looking back at his own history and
Oh
cinema.
yeah. Now that name's gonna.
No.
And I nominated that movie for Apocrypha Standing, and its name's escaping me. The guy who did Hausu.
Yeah.
Did Hausu, right?
Yeah. I'll get that in a second. Let me.
We'll write that section since we couldn't. It's I should remember that movie.
Nobuhiko Obayashi.
Yeah. What was the movie's name?
And the movie's name was there's a link that's not there.
I think it had cinema in it. Oh well, it's
Labyrinth of Cinema.
Yeah, Labyrinth of Cinema. That was it. So yeah, no, I think this is him as an old man getting to do what he really wanted to do. Some work that's not commercial, not made for a studio, probably all self-funded, and very crazy, very surreal. It seems to have multiple plots. There's the plot, like you said, about the guy who supposedly developed a camera and a cinema before the Lumiere brothers, but then it also goes into searching for a lost film from Méliès and it includes some interdimensional travel to the world of silent movies. Yet none of it's done in a silent movie style. It's all done in, green screens and CGI, like you would do it today. So a very strange sounding project. I bet it's not super good, but I bet it's not boring.
Yeah, it seems if the trailer is at all indicative, if you get bored, he's probably bored too, and we'll move on to something different to look at for a while. So yeah, I think far less interesting ways to spend. It looks like a 2-hour runtime, which sounds safe. So yeah, who knows?
Yep, that is Blood on Méliès Moon. I think there's some Giallo influence in it also.
Yeah,
I
why
don't know if
not?
Cozzi did any Giallos, but he may have. All right. Okay, so this one popped up at the last minute, or I had actually seen it, but skipped it because I thought it was just a concert film, but it's actually a experimental narrative feature. Giles, what are we looking at?
We are looking at, let's see, there's the title of the film and the art house group behind it, but the main image we're looking at is a white waistcoated tuxedoed eyeball with a opera hat looking in the direction of a rather dazed looking hipster with beard and slicked back hair wearing a t-shirt that features the figure that is looking at him through the one eyeball.
And certain people will recognize that eyeball-headed man.
That is 1/4 of the residents, presumably.
Yeah, the sort of cult band, The Residents, who I've never heard a song from, but know about. The movie is called Triple Trouble. It may be called The Residents Triple Trouble or The Residents Present Triple Trouble. It's an experimental black and white movie described, I believe, as a psychedelic noir trip about a priest who loses his faith in God, but instead gains a new faith in fungus.
Okay.
Did you see the trailer, Jack?
I did see the trailer. The fungus thing only just occurred to me. That's something of an in joke.
Oh, is
with the Residents crowd, at least as established from their documentary about them that came out 5 or so years ago that I watched and reviewed. So they have, among the various associations they have under their belt, fungus is one of them. So I can see that potentially being how they creep in there in the place of a different higher power. That said, the 30-second trailer was very cryptic, as tradition with the Residents. I really could see this being interesting or not.
It looked like a student film, to be honest, and I think that these guys are probably in their 60s now.
I would guess 70s because
that old.
Yeah, I think so. Judging from when they first sprang up, unless they were, if they were in their 20, because they've been active, as it were, since, they formed in 71.
Well, so and they have made a movie before. I think it got partially made and then waited for years, and then I think that they finished it.
Okay, the Vileness Fats Project.
Yeah, the Vileness Fats Project. I think they finally finished that. I could be wrong on that, and that could have been left unfinished. But here they are again with another Residents movie. So Residents fans, and they do exist, lots of them will be interested in this. And probably if you're a Residents fan, you probably already know about it.
Yeah, true.
If you're not, here's your chance. Okay, so we do have one more bit. That's all the movies that are debuting this week. We have one more little bit of news, which I don't know. I'm thinking it's an early April Fool's joke. It cannot be true. It's just such a bad idea. Was it last week? or 2 weeks ago that we discussed that they were doing a Room remake.
Yes. So
Followed.
I mean, talk about a double billing.
Now they're talking about doing a Vertigo remake with Robert Downey Jr. Just a horrible, terrible, terrible idea. I can't believe this is for real.
Yeah, I thought everyone involved would have learned the lesson from the Psycho remake that it's just better not to. But yeah.
And I would not cast Robert Downey Jr. In the James Stewart role. I have a perfect idea for casting in that role. Joe Pesci.
Oh, yeah, Joe Pesci were a little younger, I think. Yeah.
Well, they'll digitally alter him.
Oh,
like
that's true. They have all those magic tools now, so piece of cake with that.
And if he's not available, I'd go with Carrot Top.
He's Carrot Top probably is available.
I'm sure his potential is clear.
Yeah, I might have to interrupt one of his Vegas. I think he's in Vegas now, doing as a regular presence on one of those stages there. But yeah, Vertigo remake.
In all seriousness, I would cast Tom Hanks.
Oh yeah,
if anybody.
Yeah.
And I would cast nobody to be perfectly plain. There's no way. There's no way to do a Vertigo remake. I mean, you would have to change it up, and Hollywood is not going to do that.
Yeah, Vertigo reinterpretation, I would say, is not impossible, but to just remake it would be, to put it mildly, flirting with disaster.
Yeah, I agree. Terrible, terrible idea. Hope it is just a prank that never comes to light. Hey, my roommate, you can see him.
Oh, you got a roommate now. Okay, I didn't see him last week.
He's being very quiet and studious.
As is his wont, considering.
So that is it for this week. We're quickly running out of time. Do you have anything left to say, Giles?
No.
No announcements.
Looks like an interesting.
Plugs.
What's that?
No plugs.
Not at the moment. We'll be getting plugs later spring. Right now, well, certainly outside, winter is still limping along with a high wind and low temperature. So I'm looking forward to the future where we'll have plugs.
Okay. Well, as I said, next week we'll have Gary Huggins to talk about the cursed film Kick Me. Following that, Jason Trost of the FP, J.B. Hajim of Strange Frame and Mermaid's Lament, and then Terry McSorley and Eric Kirsten, and we're going to talk some Jean Rollin on that episode. Cool. And I think we're out of time, so bye-bye, everybody. Signing off.
Bye-bye.